welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another post-match reaction. Once again, we are live directly after Celtic's win up in Aberdeen, and we're going to discuss it all today over the next sort of 15-20 minutes. We're going to get all of your guys' thoughts and opinions as the stream goes on as well, but ultimately, Celtic come back from Aberdeen with a win. They come back with the 3 points and they remain top of the table, I believe. I believe we're still top of the table. I think goal difference is still enough for us. Yeah, Celtic 3, Aberdeen 1. We're going to talk all about it. A performance that I don't think everybody will be entirely convinced by, but we'll address it all. We'll talk about the positives and the negatives. But the most important thing is we win the game. And I thought that through all the kind of animosity in the game, through all the nervy kind of moments, I certainly thought that Celtic handled it pretty well. All things considered, Aberdeen, you've got to remember here are a side now, and this is one thing that I was thinking through the game, and we're going to discuss it start to finish, but one of the overwhelming points that comes to my mind is like, we're such a kind of a, I don't want to use the word fickle, but it's hilarious because a team camps behind the ball, right? They put their 10 men behind it, and we're all on social media and we're all complaining the grounds. Oh, every team in Scotland just plays 10 men behind the ball. I would like to see a team go for it. And then suddenly a team does go for it. Aberdeen, who are playing attacking football, they're creating chances, they're getting chances in the game. And then the next thing you see on social media is, oh, we're conceding too many chances. You can't win. There's not a happy medium, is there? But Aberdeen certainly did bring a competition to Celtic today. It was a tough game that we had to handle. And ultimately, we did, and we got the 3 points. So, yeah, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. We're about 500 subs away from 40,000 now, so that is absolutely massive. If you haven't already, make sure to jump down below, hit both of those buttons, the like button especially, to get that content out there. It is very much appreciated. Right, let's go back to the start of the game and let's work our way through as we normally do. We'll then talk about kind of 3 things we've learned, if you like, and then I'm going to get you guys in to have a bit of a discussion as well. The team sheet was announced obviously an hour before kick-off, and I think the one thing that most people took from the team sheet, and the biggest criticism of the team sheet, was that Rio Hatate for the second consecutive week was left on the bench. He didn't start. Turnbull was rewarded for his 2 goals last week, and he stayed in the team. Was it the right decision in hindsight? No, absolutely not. But listen, I think that you're in a strange situation there, aren't you? You're in a difficult scenario of picking either someone who scored 2 goals last week or just sticking with the best team that you know. And I think hindsight's a wonderful thing. He should have probably went with his best side. Probably should have gone with Rio Hatate to start the game. But I can understand the thinking in playing David Turnbull. He had a good performance last week. He's been brilliant all through pre-season. And Brendan Rodgers was obviously rewarding him for that. But Rio Hatate came on, showed in the early stages of the second half before he went off injured that he was probably the better option and is just a much better player, isn't he? I do like Turnbull and I do want to see what he does under Brendan Rodgers and how he develops, but I think there is games, Aberdeen for example, where you've got to play your best player, and Rio Hatate probably should have started the game because in that first half the midfield was non-existent. It was very, very poor. I thought that we really struggled to get a grasp of the game in the middle of the park. Matt O'Reilly, the best out of the 3. He was probably carrying the load of all 3 players. He's probably doing the majority of work, because for me, Callum McGregor in that first half in particular probably had one of his lesser games in a Celtic shirt. I thought he was very non-existent in the game. I remember when half-time hit, I sat down and I tried to think to myself. I was like, what did McGregor do in the first half? And I actually couldn't remember him being on the ball. I couldn't remember him being involved, really. And obviously that's unusual, because Callum McGregor's usually the guy that the team runs through, that we do our work through. Callum McGregor is the key man. He's the captain. He's the leader. And I just felt like his presence was very much non-existent, which is really unusual. So it really speaks volumes as to where the midfield was in today's game. I thought that we were really poor. And I think that it does raise a question as to whether or not that trio actually does work. And O'Reilly and Turnbull, for as much as it works against a Ross County, and I think you can play that against a Ross County, a Dundee, a St Johnstone, I think that those 2 would work really well. But when it comes to these games, Aberdeen, Rangers, European football, I don't think that David Turnbull and Matt O'Reilly is a very wise combination. And it's nothing on the ability of any of the 2 players. especially Riley, because he's unbelievable and he was brilliant again today. He got a goal. But it's nothing on the individual ability of each player. I just think as a partnership, I don't think they complement each other very well. I don't think that it allows you to have... They're both players who want to move forward. They're both players who like to score goals. I just think that when you have Hatate in there, you've got someone who's cool, calm, composed on the ball, who can carry it, who can sit a bit deeper and move forward. Whereas with David Turnbull beside O'Reilly, I don't think that you really get the same sort of player in a David Turnbull. And once again, it's nothing on the ability of Turnbull. I think he's a cracking player, and I think he can score goals and he can do well for us. But I just think that in these games, when you've got the nitty-gritty going on and you're playing against a decent side, you need someone in there who's going to be able to do a lot of the other work, carrying the ball, passing it, spraying it along the park as well. And I don't quite know if Turnbull's the partner for Matt O'Reilly to do that. I think it's real Hatate, and I think that was evident in the first half. But Celtic took the lead 11 minutes in. Liel Abada, after what was probably a rocky start for Celtic, same as last week. I think Aberdeen came out the gates looking a stronger side, you could say, but Celtic did handle it well. They got the first goal. Liel Abada, who makes it 2 goals for him in the campaign. I think he could be in for a great season, as we all know, and he's backing that up today with another goal. But then Aberdeen fired back, didn't they? Miofsky, who got the goal, and a defensive disaster class for Celtic. And I think that I'm going to focus more on the first half in this match reaction, as you can already tell, right? But I think it just highlights how much we need defenders brought in the door, and not just first team defenders, but just overall depth. Because I think we're getting to the point now where you can see, if we want to take it up a level, and if we want to be better as a side, I really don't think that Tony Ralston... And I'm not going to go in two-footed on Greg Taylor, because I love Greg, and he had a fantastic campaign. But there's obvious improvement that can be made to take us to the next level. I think that the fullbacks in particular are struggling to adapt to this new system. They're different fullbacks now. They're not the Ange Postecoglou fullbacks, they're Brendan Rodgers fullbacks. And we need to strengthen in both of the areas. Now, I'd love to see how Alistair Johnston will adapt to this system and how he'll play. I have the utmost faith that he'll be absolutely fine. He's a good enough player. He's going to come in. I think that he'll suit any sort of fullback role. He's got all the traits and qualities to kind of do it in any sort of in any role, whether it be inverted or traditional fullback. I think Johnston will be absolutely fine. But Taylor was rotten today. He was rotten, and he wasn't great last week. He was probably one of the worst players in the park for us last week against Ross County. I'm not saying we bin Greg Taylor. I'm not saying he's not good enough, because I think that adapting is something that takes longer than 2 league games, and that's one thing that fans really need to drill into themselves. We're not going to see the polished final product after 2 games. That's never going to happen. So I'm not saying bin Taylor and he's never going to be good enough for it, but I think especially if we have ambition outside domestic football, I think that Brendan Rodgers needs to look at that area and realise that there's strength needed, that there's a desperate need for someone who's going to come in, be able to play in his role, and be able to improve that, to be able to take it to the next level. Because I look along the team today and I see plenty of players who are good enough. You know, for our ambitions. You look at Kyogo, you look at Abada, you look at O'Reilly, you look at McGregor, you look at Vickers, you look at a lot of the players in the team. They're great. They're brilliant, and they will be able to take us far. But I think that to make it the final product and to take us to that next stage, I think that you need to go and get players in these positions where you know that there's obvious strengthening that can happen. Left back. That jumps off the page at me. I think if we added someone the quality of an Alistair Johnson over on that left-hand side, it would help it take us another level. Taylor looked lost today. He really did. He didn't look as though he remembered how to defend. I thought that at times that the Aberdeen players were taking him a walk. And then the same on the right-hand side. Ralston he's never... I think that one season that he had is going to remain as that one season that he had. You know what I'm saying? I really think he's going to struggle to kind of get back to those heights. We need to bring in someone who's going to be better than him for when Alistair Johnson's out the team. So those are obvious areas where Celtic need to fix. But we did take the lead again. Kyogo back with another goal. He's just unbelievable. And the thing is about that goal, right? You can say that it's an easy one. It's an absolute gimme of a goal. You know, the Aberdeen make a big error, a big blunder. It falls to Kyogo. You can't miss it. You can easily say that, right? But What I'll say about that finish from Kyogo is I've seen many a striker at Celtic, outside of Celtic, just in general football, who take that kind of opportunity, they snatch at it, they put it over the bar, they put it wide, or they hit it at the keeper or whatnot. That's a fantastic finish that he takes incredibly well, when he's not got an awful lot of time to think about it as well. But the finish was absolutely fantastic. It was brilliant. And it speaks volumes to the kind of player you've got there in Kyogo. He's someone who has already shown inside the 2 games that this is going to be easy for him to adapt. A lot of people had concerns that the likes of him and Maida and that wouldn't fit into a Brendan Rodgers system, and maybe Kyogo wasn't a Brendan Rodgers striker. Listen, I think you could shove me in charge of Celtic and Kyogo would start scoring goals and keep scoring goals. He is brilliant, and that finish today just once again kind of solidifies the quality of player that you've got in Kyogo. But yeah, we handled a lot of pressure in the first half, and we took that at half time. There was a lot of animosity. Changes had to be made. They did make changes. Obviously, Rio Hatate came on at half time. That was a big sub for Celtic. And Cameron Carter-Vickers had to go off, which was a big kind of negative from the game. Let's talk about that very quickly. I think that Cameron Carter-Vickers is so important to this team that we need to hope and pray that that's nothing too serious. Now, obviously, the game has just finished. I don't know when the comments and such are going to come out from the manager. Now, as far as I'm aware, Matt O'Reilly and Joe Hart have spoke to Sky Sports in the last couple of minutes. I don't quite know if Brendan Rodgers has yet, and I don't know if there'll be an assessment done or anything yet on Cameron Carter-Vickers. Lagerbielke is going to come into this side, and he is going to be thrown right in. He has to be thrown right in if Vickers is out for any length of time. And if it is any length of time, I hope it's a minimal length of time. I hope that it's, 1, 2, 3 weeks max. I really do hope that it's nothing more serious than that, because Vickers is massively important to what we do. So if Lagerbielke comes in over the next few days, he's probably going to have to start next week. He's probably going to have to start in our next few games. But hopefully it's precautionary, it's nothing serious, and Vickers will be back out in the training ground ready to go over the next week. But we'll wait and see what Brendan Rodgers says. Thank you to Jake, who's confirmed that he hasn't spoke yet, so we'll probably have to sit and wait for Rodgers' post-match reaction. But anyway, second half, we were a bit all over the place. We were really sloppy in possession. A lot of the passes weren't landing. As I said, I think Hatate brought an obvious change into the game, but aside from that, we were really, really sloppy. But amongst all of that, we did handle the pressure well. Listen, you could say Aberdeen should be better with their chances, and other teams could go and score these goals, and we'd be suffering, and we're lucky to not concede them or whatever. But what I will say is he was good today. Who was good today? We were good today at handling the pressure. We managed to just, with every chance that they kind of took, we would move up the park, we'd do something with it. We should have had another couple of goals ourselves, I reckon. Maida missing a big chance. Kyogo was unlucky with the one that went over the bar. He kind of leaned back into it. We did have our chances, don't forget that, in the second half. We did have our chances. So it wasn't as if we were completely non-existent in that second half. I just think that we were sloppy in possession. And Aberdeen were doing a really good job at pressing us in the park as well. And maybe that's something that we need to look out for a little bit more, is how we deal with the press of an opposition side. But at the end of the day, what did we do? We went up the park. We got that third goal. We solidified the 3 points, and we walk away once again top of the table. Matt O'Reilly with the third, and brilliant in getting the third. Matt O'Reilly today, another great performance from him. I think that just kind of strengthening every point that's been made by myself and tons of you guys and others, that he will be huge for Brendan Rodgers this season, and maybe one of the most important and best players in Brendan Rodgers' side. He's really proving that in the opening couple of weeks. I'm happy with the 3 points. Listen, I'm going to come into your guys' thoughts and comments in a minute about the game. Also, thank you to Dudley Bryce for the $2 Australian. Didn't even catch that when it came through. I was too busy gabbing, but thank you for that. I'm going to come to you guys in a moment, get all your thoughts and questions and points. But my kind of finalised point from the game and the summary of the game is that there's obvious areas that we need to iron out, and we need to go and make signings before the transfer window shuts. But 2 wins out of 2, 6 points and 7 goals. I'm just reading my tweet that I put up. The 2 wins, 6 points, 7 goals to start the campaign. It'll do me. And a tough test against the side who are by far the third best team in this country. You're going to expect a challenge. It's never going to be easy. And I think that we handled it really, really well. And there's definitely other positives to take. I've not even spoke about them and I feel bad for not saying it. But I think that you've got to give a massive credit to some of these younger guys coming into the team today. I even thought that Stephen Welsh, there was a couple of moments where you're like, right, okay, he can't be playing every week. But for coming in and probably not expecting to play, I thought his performance wasn't that bad. But those two guys, Holm and Yang, they look brilliant. Holm especially, he looks the package. I think he's going to be huge for us moving forward over the next 3-4 years. And Yang, for as much, I'm not going to sit here, I'm not going to sit here and say he's the Jota replacement. We're not talking then. But what I am saying is, we've been all getting worked up about not signing wingers and not having someone to replace Jota. Yang is someone who I've been pleasantly surprised with in the first few games that he's played. I say pleasantly surprised as if I didn't expect much of him, but he is definitely someone who I think can have a big impact on this team. His footwork going into that third goal was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does, but Holm especially, yeah. It's not going to be the polished product after 2 games. As I said, look, it's easy to say that Brendan Rodgers has been here before and players should be able to adapt and yada yada. But at the end of the day, 3 of those guys from his first tenure here are still here. The rest is a completely new squad who've played under an entirely different system. It is going to take a little bit of time. The main thing is we win games, we get 3 points, and that's exactly what we've done. So I'm happy. Anyway, let's get into talking about your thoughts on today's game. Obviously, Ange Postecoglou's first game as Tottenham manager is underway as well. There's been a goal in that game, I think, and Tottenham have the lead. Wow, so Ange Postecoglou's into a good start. I've just got the goal flash on my notes at the side. I've got my notes from the Celtic game and then like the live scores coming through. But yeah, apparently it's 1-0. Christian Romero scoring the first goal of the Ange era. But who cares? We've got Brendan Rodgers here. Right, let's get your thoughts. Let's get your points. In regards, we've got nearly 400 live viewers. Thank you, everybody. This will be, if you've missed anything, it will be back up. It'll be on the channel for you to watch from the start anyway. Let's get some of your points and questions. I see a lot of things about Ange coming through, but let's thoughts on Ralston, and do you think he can challenge Johnson? No, simple as that. I hate feeling like I go in a 2-footed on a player, especially a homegrown lad who's given a lot so far to Celtic. But no, if you're being realistic, you can't be naive about things. He's nowhere near the level of Johnson, and I think that we need to sign another right back. I've said that earlier on in the stream, but. Yeah, there's some Rangers fans having a great time in there with his Union Jacks. Nice to see he's having a normal afternoon. I love Greg Taylor, but we need a new left back and a backup right back. Absolutely, echoing my earlier points from this stream. Absolutely, I think those are 2 obvious areas that we need to go and improve. And Matt O'Reilly is a different animal, and the same beast. He is fantastic so far in this Brendan Rodgers system. I would absolutely agree. With that. Right, Brian says, need to address defensive issues quick. Keeper needed, backup centre-back needed, left-back main needed, and a winger needed for me. Want to see McGregor, O'Reilly, and Holmes start. Yang and for Maeda, 2 wins out of 2. Hail. Yeah, the areas that you've rhymed off there, I agree. I think that we need all of them. We're obviously waiting for the announcement of Gustav Lagerbielke coming this week. That'll be good. That's great. Centre half ticked off the list. Do we maybe go for Biyamba and make it 2? I don't think so. But the other areas, I absolutely agree, Brian. I think that today's performance does show you that we still need, especially for European football, playing the way that we did today. That ain't going to suffice. That ain't going to work in Europe. Balls over the top, defenders being out of position. That ain't going to work, so we've got a few things to strengthen up on. Jake says it's early days and we will get better, but if we want to give Champions League a good go or even Europa, we need to get a new goalkeeper. Joe is just a big bomb scare. I agree. Look, listen, I think that Joe Hart actually had it. This is probably a controversial opinion. I don't think that Joe Hart was overall bad today. I thought he dealt with set pieces well. I thought there was a couple of moments where he came out and claimed the ball as his quite well, but the bomb scare moments are the overwhelming ones, and they're still there. The one that they were offside, he's really lucky he's offside. Either that, he might have been sent off. And there was one he passed straight to Aberdeen as well, I think quite early on in the game. We do need a goalkeeper. I just really don't think that we're going to go out and get one. I still doubt it, even though we need it. And I think Brendan Rodgers probably knows it himself. I'm still unsure that we're going to do it. So, yeah, I do love Big Joe, but the bomb scare moments ain't going to suffice in Europe. I don't believe that Hatate was actually injured. Aberdeen was kicking hell out of us and getting away with it, so he's probably faked it. So he didn't actually get injured. He might be off. Nah, I think it looked like a real calf injury. I don't think it's time for conspiracies, but I hope that's nothing serious either. Listen, if he fails any medicals, that's great. Keep him around. Changed the shape in the second half, much better. Hatate changed the energy. As did Yang and Holm, absolutely. I can't stop thinking about Holm, actually. I've not raved enough about him on this stream because I thought he was absolutely brilliant today. Odin Thiago Holm. Same as me, David, same as me. Do I think that Turnbull's cut out for Europe? And I think Hatate should be ahead of him, yeah. Do I think he's cut out for Europe? Not to start games. I don't think you can start games in Europe with Turnbull. Not yet. But development is a key part of football. You know what I mean? Back when Brendan Rodgers first came into the side, listen, you could have argued that the likes of Callum McGregor might not have been, and this is a thing. I don't know how old a lot of the people are here. If you're younger, you might not remember as much, but people my age, and a lot of people obviously here older than me, if you take your mind back to 2016 and Callum McGregor, where he was when Rodgers came in, he wasn't a world beater. He was somebody who could have been improved on, but Rodgers developed him and made him into the player that he is. He can do that with Turnbull. Will he do it? That's a different question, but he can. So it's all about watching development and see what happens. You know what I mean? So, there's a lot of conversation around that. I don't think it's as simple as a yes or no, but if I was to go off my judgment right now, I would say that no, he's not the level required to be starting games in the Champions League. There's a lot of negatives to his game that just simply wouldn't work. That you look at Hatate, for example. Hatate just trumps him in a lot of different areas. Holm is a great replacement for Moy, absolutely. I miss Moy, I do, but I think I think you're right. DM McDonald, nice to see you. All right, Ryan, mate, good win there. Scrappy game, but still clear cut. What we need in the window, absolutely. Very nice summary. Short, concise, straight to the point. I like it. As always, DM McDonald, thank you. Let's see. DMC. He says, what do you think of Rodgers playing Kyogo running back deep more often? Dave from Tokyo. Thank you, Dave. Hope Tokyo's treating you well. Listen, I like what I see at Kyogo in this system. I spoke about it earlier in the stream very quickly, but I think that he's fitting into this like a glove. As the phrase goes. I think he's been brilliant so far, and I don't have an awful lot of complaints. But I think that'll do it for today. I think we can. I'm going to have to go and obviously ban some people from the chat because, yeah, I think there's one particular account in there that's showing up. Quite an annoyance, to be honest. But I'm going to wrap it up there for today. 3 points and up the road. Celtic 3. Aberdeen 1. Roll on the next game. I'm looking forward to it, and I will be back all week on the channel with more discussion, podcasts, etc, etc, etc. I think a bit of conversation around Rio Hatate is probably needed as well earlier tomorrow or Tuesday. We'll talk about that whole situation. But a lot to talk about over the next week, but I'm happy with that today. I can sleep well tonight knowing that we have the 3 points. Anyway, thank you. Right, take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you next time.